What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and the Star Wars news cup overfloweth. Now, I know many of you are getting a little tired of it, but I have a feeling things should taper off after Monday. I've got a pretty big story on Rotten Tomatoes scammery for Monday, as well as some actor backlash from the film, and then I'll try to do something different for the other two videos for Monday. But quick reminder that all of my episodes are compiled into one long video format on the Quartering Daily. Now, you don't have to subscribe because there's a playlist here on my main page, but if you want notifications, because they go up around 8 o'clock at night, and you just want to watch like all the episodes combined into one, make sure you subscribe to the Quartering Daily. I'll leave a link in the pinned comment below. Now, yesterday, Twitter was trending some pretty spicy topics. And I'm not sure what their reasoning was for it. Certainly when Twitter trends something, especially with their events or moments section, there's a lot going on there. There's a couple of bizarre hot takes where the actor that plays, I think, Chewbacca, claps back at some of these clowns who are going on and on and on about Rise of the Skywalker. And, you know, at the end of the day, there's not a lot to say about the movie outside of all the drama surrounding it. You see hot takes like Dr. Stephen W. Thrasher, who has a lot of stuff, and he was worked at BuzzFeed. Goes on to say, some lighthearted non-spoiler thoughts on race in The Last Skywalker. Finn finding Janna, a fellow black, decolonized, formerly colonized Imperial subject who got woke. Revised my 2014 Guardian essay on theorized stormtroopers are black. All stormtroopers are black. That's the theory. This is the first Star Wars movie I can think of that has black people talking to one another. The scene between Janna and Lando, Billy D. Williams, met the threshold of the Ava test. Black characters talking to each other, not about white characters. That's kind of touching in a Franz Fanon sort of way, how the black characters rescued each other, how the colonized of the galaxy rose up against the Empire in horizontal BLM Occupy manner. While I very much like The Last Skywalker, a mega corporate franchise film ain't the best place to look for validation. Yet there were still nice moments of black intimacy in the film, a tender way to read queerness, decolonial theory, and anti-imperial messaging in it. The funny thing is, when you're Disney and you're putting together these scripts, I would venture a reasonable take, I think, is that there is absolutely 0% chance that this is intentional based on the script. Maybe back in the day, you could argue that, you know, when it was in the hands of a smaller group of people and they wanted to do a specific thing with the script, they might have set out to make a movie about colonialism, but it's a space opera. There's nothing deeper in this film. Most of it is cherry-picked and plucked by people like Dr. Stephen W. Thrasher of BuzzFeed to try and just put out stink pieces. And you see this article from the Star Wars Shadow Council. The #1 spot here, and this is curated, obviously. Some had issues with Rey's relationship with conflicted villain Kylo Ren. Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker glorifies abuse against women. Now, I'm not going to give that article much of the time of day. The coverage of it, which was broken down nicely on Bounding Into Comics. Spoiler warning, the article contains some spoilers from Rise of the Skywalker. Star Wars Shadow Central, a website and blog dedicated to continuing Star Wars mythos, has made the claim that the story between Kylo Ren and Rey in Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker promotes and romanticizes abuse against women. based on an interpretation of the film as seen through the lens of one specific book on domestic abuse. On December 20th, Star Wars Shadow Central published a post by guest contributor Emily, who also goes by the Twitter handle @Ray'sSpeeder, titled Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker Glorifies Bad Behavior Against Women, in which Emily argues that the film romanticizes abuse by portraying a myth that fixing an abusive man is the ultimate responsibility for every vulnerable woman. That's right. The cross between Mary Sue and Jesus, that is known as Rey, is apparently a vulnerable young woman. Here's an excerpt. On Friday, December 6th, the timely 2 weeks before release of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, Disney issued a warning that certain scenes in the film would contain flashing lights and may negatively affect those with photosensitive epilepsy. I'm looking at you, Kurt Eichenwald. While the announcement was admirable and demonstrated a gesture of goodwill from the company to consumers, who is going to see a Star Wars movie and not think that there's going to be flashing lights in it? You joking me? Anyway, there's another warning that the company didn't disclose, that the film romanticizes abuse against women. It is important to note that the descriptions following technically qualified as spoilers for the film that debuted in theaters on Friday, December 20th. However, when it comes to portrayal of serious, harmful, and triggering content, the safety of viewers is more important than allowing oneself to be surprised when watching a film. Not all surprises are enjoyable. In her analysis, Emily uses only one text, quote, "Why does he do that?" Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men, by Lundry Bancroft, as a guide to analyzing the text. The book, written in 2002, has become highly praised, stable in text in the field of understanding domestic bad behavior. Using Bancroft's book, Emily applies the dynamics of abuse discussed by Bancroft to the traditional hero-villain dynamic of Kylo Ren and Rey, removing the context of the story and their history to frame Kylo as an abuser. In order to inform what is meant by abuse, by the way, I mean, he literally saves her life. I'm not sure that you could qualify him as anything other than a hero. The Rise of Skywalker promotes unhealthy myths about abusive behavior. Work from a specialist in domestic abuse, Lundy Bancroft's 2002 book, Why Does He Do That? Blah, 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 blah. As a guide to understand Kylo Ren is abusive, how Rey is his victim, and how the Rise of Skywalker romanticizes abuse by portraying the myth that fixing an abusive man is the ultimate responsibility of a vulnerable young woman. This character in the film, apt to real-life abusers, has two names, two personalities, a Jekyll and Hyde, as if to represent his kind side and his abusive side. You mean the light and the dark side of the Force? The same two sides that Rey has, the same two sides that everybody tuned into the Force has? Okay. The victim only has one name, Rey. Well, doesn't she also go by Rey Skywalker too, even though that's not her name? I mean, technically, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's okay. His side, okay. The victim only has one name, Rey. They portray the role of abuser and abused throughout 3 films. Neither of the previous 2 films went so far as to pushing the myth that it is romantic and that the victim must forgive and fall in love with her abuser than did Rise of the Skywalker. Therefore, this analysis will only describe his behavior as it occurred in the latest film. This is just, of course, ridiculous. I get that you read a book and that you want to sound smart, but it's a space opera. There are, in modern day mega corporate films, I don't think any predetermined messages that they want to make other than money. We want to make money. We want to sell figurines. We want to make money. They also talk about 2 scenes, include the moment where Kylo Ren steals and destroys a necklace Rey received from Aki on Pisana. Their interaction ends with Kylo approaching Rey and then assaulting her by tearing off a necklace she is wearing, thereby destroying it. Using this work, the scene qualifies as depicting physical abuse. They were fighting with lightsabers! Mythical lightsabers! Colt's cramming himself into a little Tupperware right now. Little guy. Yeah, it's a weekend. Why not get a little more casual with the videos? This analysis completely ignores the points of context and general storytelling. Kylo Ren and Rey have been enemies, one Sith, the other Jedi, poised against each other to be polar, diametric opposites. Kylo Ren, under the influence of the dark side of the Force, gives into his anger and engages in battle with Rey regularly throughout the trilogy. In an attempt to sway her to his side, he taunts her with the truth of her clouded memories. Kylo's goal is less, I get a sense of power from controlling this woman with who I am in the relationship, and more, I'm attempting to rule the galaxy and wish for this powerful Force user to join me. Now, the rest of this article, I'll just recommend reading. It's very good, abutting into comics, a clear understanding of Star Wars and also how it completely destroys this ridiculous narrative. But, you know, the SJW's got to make their money too, and I understand that. I just wish that more people would push back against this and counter these narratives that clearly, you know, Twitter themselves is trying to force by creating this trending moment with all these SJW garbage think pieces on things that just really isn't in the film. UFC Jimmy Wong, real talk. Anybody who says real talk too, their opinion can be disregarded. Brand new character Beaumont got to say more words than returning character Rose Tico in Rise of the Skywalker, and I'm livid about it. Wow, Jimmy Wong. I'm so sorry, Jimmy. Oh, are you counting words of people that look like you in movies? I think you have an obsession with race, my friend. Director Abrams then paid Tran a great compliment when he singled out her as perhaps the best part of the legacy left behind in The Last Jedi and director Rian Johnson. Abrams said, I was grateful to Rian for so many things that he did, but the greatest for me was casting Kelly Marie Tran, who was a background piece in the movie. Well, Kelly Marie Tran isn't a Jedi. Her character isn't important. It's irrelevant to the story. And demanding that she have more lines based on skin color is simply dumb. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.